In today's tutorial, let's work on the baby's first cluster crochet hat. We have 4 sizes available in one pattern, and let's get started right after this. Welcome back to the Crochet Crowd as well as yarnspirations.com. I'm your host Mikey. Today we're going to work on some hats, and today we're going to be working on the one that is listed in the title of this video. This particular pattern comes in 4 different sizes, and let's review that first. We're going to have the preemie size of 3 to 4 pounds. We have the preemie size of 5 to 6 pounds. We also have newborn of 7 to 9 pounds, and then up to 3 months. The project that we're doing today is listed in the title of this video. I'm going to take you through the ins and outs of this particular pattern, and then we're going to jump to the size that has been listed in the title of this video. So all 4 hat sizes are very similar in concept. The only difference is, other than they look different in sizing, is that there's a fundamental difference of rounds 3 and 4 between all of them. So a cluster is made up of 2 double crochets into the same stitch, and when we go to work on it, we're working on it like it's looking upside down, and you can see that there's 2 double crochets that make up one cluster, like so. Okay, and the next cluster just goes into a space in between. We're going to be explaining that a little bit more in a bit. So what's going to happen on rounds 3 and 4 is that 3 and 4 is increasing the number of clusters so that the hat diameter expands. So clearly when you're doing the preemie size here, and you can get up to 12 hats out of one yarn ball for the Caron Simply Soft, is that there's less clusters in the top part here so that it makes it a smaller diameter. So what's going to happen here is that we're going to take you through the ins and outs of this particular video. All of them start off the same way, rounds 1 and 2, and then this video is going to change then for rounds 3 and 4 in order to do it. Once you get the round 4 done, all of the rest of these hats turn exactly identical, with just adding a cluster into each one of the spaces that is available to you, and then you just need a tape measure at the end, measure the distance that you have that's listed in the pattern, and just polish it off with a single crochet right at the very end. So this is a really kind of an interesting concept. I'm also going to explain you one more thing before we begin today's tutorial. To help me to help you in order to teach this effectively, I've created these diagrams that are just kind of made with pencil, and this, for example, is the 3 to 4 size here, and we can see that we start off identically, and I put in highlights here whenever there's an increase that go in between any of the clusters that you see. So if you notice it's sitting inside of a cluster, that's what we have. So I'm gonna provide this scan details, and this is 5 and 6 on the crochetcrowd.com underneath the particular sizing, and you can see that I've done them all in order to help me teach. But I'm going to tell you one more thing in order to really make it a lot more easier for me to teach, because I was just trying to think how not to confuse you, and it is all about the spaces and the double crochets. So let me just pull this up here. So whenever I refer to a between, it's going to be in between 2 double crochets that are together. So consider these as a cluster, like you should anyway. So whenever I say the stitch is in between, it's in between a cluster like this, and if I say it's in between a space, it's in between the space between 2 clusters. And so when we go to work on this, let me pull up the size here, and I have highlighted in pink here. So for example, what I would go here is I would say a cluster in the space, because it appears in between 2, but the next one is in cluster in between, and you'll see that it's in between 2 of the double crochets, just like that. So I'm going to be saying that in this particular video in order to make it. So as I teach it, and for example, let me take up the smallest size because it's just going to be easier. When I go to start, I will say chain 3, double crochet into the same in between, and then I will say cluster in the next space, cluster in the next space, and then cluster in between, just like this. So if you could just follow it along, and we're gonna try to do it, and you'll see in the baby size that it's kind of really kind of unusual on how it's increasing, but we'll explain that when it comes to this particular size. So without further ado, let's jump to this particular tutorial and the size that we're talking about, and let's get started. So in today's tutorial we're going to do the preemie size of 5 to 6 pounds, and this is relatively easy. You need a 4.5 millimeter size G crochet hook today, also known as a US 7. You will get approximately 10 hats out of one ball of Caron Simply Soft yarn in order to make these work. So let's get started next. For the 5 to 6 pound size, we're going to be working on this particular hat, and I do have a sample of my diagram that I'm going to be following along, and this will be available on the crochetcrowd.com under the sizing of hat 5 to 6 pounds for preemie. So here's our goal to get the hat to look like this. All of the 4 hats that we're doing have the same 1 and 2 for rounds, and then it's this hat rounds 3 and 4 are different, and then the remaining of the hat is identical to every one of the hats. What you're going to be noticing here is that I highlighted certain stitches, and these stitches appear in between any of the double crochet clusters. So you'll notice that if you take the hat upside down is that we have clusters and they're just 2 double crochets into the same stitch. So whenever I've highlighted it, it means that these double crochets are sitting in between and not into a space in between. So when I have it here, just like I've explained before, so whenever I refer to that it's in between, it means that it's in between a cluster. Okay, right, just separate them, and when it's in a space, it's in the space between 2 clusters. So let's get started on doing this project, and let's start off with a slip knot. Let's put this on your hook, and let's begin from this point. So let's begin. We're going to start by chaining 3. Remember, the 1 on the hook never counts as 1. So 1, 2, and 3, and what we want to do is do 8 half double crochets in the starting chain. So come all the way back to the start, wrap the hook, and going into the starting chain, and I want to put in a half double crochet, and I want to do that 8 times. So that was 1 and 2, 3, okay, and I'm leaving that straggler down in 4 and 5, 6, 7, and 8. And what I want to do is join this to the beginning single or half double crochet that we started with. So if you can count back, if you're not sure where you should join, just count back. So start from the one right underneath the hook. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. So just count back and you can figure that out. Go right into an actual stitch and just join it just like this. Let's begin round number 2. Round number 2 is very easy. We're just gonna chain up 3, 1, 2, and 3, coming to the same space that you just joined, and just do a double crochet, and you're making clusters here even though you may not identify it right away. So you're gonna chain 1 next, and then come into the next stitch, and then put in 2 double crochets. So each cluster in this particular design is consisting of 2 double crochets into the same stitch. Chain 1, come into the next one, 2 double crochets. So you want to go all the way around in that same fashion, so you'll end up with 8 clusters going all the way around. Chain 1, come into the next one. The secret is to keep the same count going all the way around. All 4 of the hats start off identically with rounds 1 and 2 just being like this. It's rounds 3 and 4 that change the story for all of the hats going forward. Chain 1, okay, just continuing to go all the way around. If you're ever unsure, just count your groups of 2, and I will do that in just a moment just to verify. So I think I'm done here because the next stitch belongs to the next one. So you can just count the groups. So you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. That means I'm done. Chain 1 first, and then just join it to the top of the beginning, chain 3 like this. And that concludes on how to do rounds 1 and 2. So now that my first 1 and 2 are complete, I'm now ready for my chart, and I'm going to be referring to this one here. This one is relatively easy in comparison to the preemie size. You see that the growth is more balanced, and we're gonna begin to do that next. So let's begin by slip stitching in between the clusters. So whenever I say in between, just look at the clusters and it's in between. Okay, so if I refer to a space, it's the space in between where 2 clusters are. Okay, so it's right there. So let's chain up 3 and double crochet into the same area. Okay, so the next one is going to be a cluster into the next space. So that's space in between 2 clusters. And then the next one is in between. So just separate the next cluster out and put in 2 double crochets. So this is called a cluster. So if I'm referring it to that. So the next 2 stitches are going to be in spaces. So look in the space and put a cluster and jump to the next space available, Okay, so there's a cluster there. Here's the next cluster. It's the space in between. Okay, the next one is in between, so just go to the next cluster here and put it right in between. Okay, the next two clusters are going to be in spaces, so just look for the spaces. Go to the next space here. So you're about halfway around at this point. The next one is in between, so just go in between the cluster. Okay, and the next three are in spaces. Sorry, the next two are in spaces. So the next two, I was looking at the wrong round. So jump to the next space here. And finish off this particular round with one in between. So the final cluster is in between. So the goal here is to have a different amount of clusters compared to what we had for all the other sizes of hats. So let's count them out. So just one. So I'm counting them out in groups of two. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. So 12 is what you're looking for. Just join it to the top of the beginning chain 3. So we have to do one more round before we're ready to get to the final size of this hat. This is the 5 to 6 pound size. Let's move along to round number 4. So let's move on to round number 4 for this size, and we have 12 clusters already in. We have to get this up to 16 clusters in order to make it to the right size that we want. So let's begin by slip stitching in between the cluster. Okay, so in between, and chaining up 3. 1, 2, and 3, and double crochet into the same space. So let's begin going around. So the next two clusters are going to be in spaces. So just go into the space. So that was 1, and do the next space, so just separate those. Do you see that? And then the next one is in between. So here's the next cluster, go right in between it. So the next 3 are going to be in spaces. So here's the next space. So it's going to be 3 clusters. So 1, go to the next space. This is 2, go to the next space for 3, and now the next one is in between. Okay, so just separate those. Okay, the next 3 are in spaces. Okay, and this is the third one. And then the next one is in between. So the next cluster, just go right in between. So we're increasing the size every time we do that when we separate those clusters out. Okay, the next 3 are in spaces. So this is 2. And here's the third one. And we're left with just one more cluster left, and it's in between. So it's the final one, it's in between. So let's just count this before we join it. So we needed a total of 16 clusters. So counting in groups of 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and 16. So 16 is my magic number. It's what I wanted. Join it to the top of the beginning chain 3. Let's conclude off this hat, and I'll show you what to do next. So all the rounds now until the brim of the hat are going to be identical to each other. So how we start off this round is that we slip stitch to the next double crochet available to you, and then slip stitch to the space in between 2 clusters. Okay, then we chain up 3 and double crochet into the same space. So we're just gonna work in between the spaces of clusters for the remaining of these rounds, and we need to get a total of 4 inches tall when we're going to do this. So if we're looking at this hat, when we go to measure, we measure from the top all the way till it gets to about 4 inches, and then we finish it off with a single crochet round. So we're just gonna continue to go all the way around. So just put in a cluster in each one of the spaces in between the clusters. Going all the way around, you'll notice that the hat will start looking like a hat and getting really close to it as you go all the way around. So continue to do that. I'll show you how to start the next round, and then I'll leave the rest to you, and then we'll come back and do the brim together. So as you come all the way back around, eventually you're gonna run out of those spaces before you hit the first one again. Just join it to the top of the beginning chain 3. So to start the next round, like you would with all the remaining, just slip stitch again to the next double crochet, and then slip stitch into the next chain or next space that's in between. Chain up 3 again, so 1, 2 and 3, double crochet into the same space, and then into a cluster into each one of the spaces, going all the way around again. So you're gonna continue to do that until you get 4 inches tall, and then once we get to 4 inches tall, I'll show you how to do the brim at that point. So continue to do these, and you don't really have to think or count, just a matter of do, and it's a lot of fun. So just a few minutes ago I left you, and I have to get 4 inches tall, so I'm just gonna look it up, and it's really close. Like really close. If you want to do an extra round you could, but it's really close here. So what I'm gonna do is that I'm going to finish off this hat with the brim. So how we do the brim is identical to what we're gonna do with them all. We chain up 1, and then we just single crochet into each of the double crochets going around. So we don't go in any spaces, just 1 single crochet in each double crochet. So I'm gonna go all the way around, and then I'm gonna show you how to finish these off so that you have no tails hanging out, especially if you're donating these. So you don't want tails hanging out because it will be gifted to probably somebody in need of a hat of this size. So let me come back in just a moment. So you're gonna come up all the way back around, single crochet into each, and then once you're all the way around, just join it to the beginning with a slip stitch to the single crochet. Let's finish this off, and I'm just gonna cut my strand. Okay, it's about 1 foot long, and I'm just gonna pull it through the loop to lock it. So here's how you're gonna finish off to make it in order to not have any tails hanging out of your work. Slip on a darning needle, and the secret to any kind of projects when it comes to crochet is that in order to not have tails, if you slip it into your work 3 different directions, it will never fall out. So just going into one there, just underneath some fibers, noticing I'm not staying on the top of the edge so I don't ruin it. Now I'm gonna come back in the other direction, going into some different sets of fibers but very close to it, because if you go in the exact same path it'll fall out. And then just going back one more time. So if you go in and out 3 times like this, you can simply just trim your work right down to the bottom. So just trim it right out. You'll never see it. Well, it's hardly noticeable. And then if you've left on your straggler at this point, just going into the inside of the hat and just trim that out. And now you have a 5 to 6 pound preemie size hat available to you. Great for your donation box, and you know, you can add flowers and anything like that. So this is how you would do a preemie hat. It's 5 to 6 pounds, doing the cluster stitch just like this, and it's really quite fun. Till next time, I'm Mikey on behalf of the Crochet Crowd as well as YarnSpirations.com. Have a fabulous day. We'll see you again real soon.